Welcome back. Hi friends, I'm Praveen, working in the software industry for the last 25 years, in which more than 10 years I've been in management position. As I said, I've been instrumental in implementing CMMI in my company. So in this series of videos, I will share with you, show you, help you understand the basics of CMMI. Friends, in the last video, you have seen like the maturity levels, the CMMI maturity levels, the structure of CMMI model, like the process areas, specific goals, generic goals, etc. You have also seen about the different levels of CMMI. Okay, like one is an improved, the second CMMI level 2, which is called as a managed. So today we are going to be learning about the managed services, that is CMMI level 2. As I said, basically the CMMI level 2 is more about the project management. So at level 2, you manage the requirements, you do the project planning, you do the project monitoring, you ensure that the work products are managed, you ensure the services like the supplier management, the contract agreements are managed. A process that is planned and executed in accordance with the policy. You employ skilled people, you have adequate resources to produce the controlled products. You involve the stakeholders in the project. Basically, you ensure that they are updated with all the information of the project and you involve them in making decisions basically. At level 2, you also monitor, you control and the review all the work basically, the project. And you evaluate it whether the project is adhering to the plan. The status of the work products and the delivery of services are visible. It does not mean that you would be able to reach everything or you will be completing in time, but you would know at different intervals at how the project is actually progressing. So you're doing a project management, and basically the level 2 is more about project management. At the level 2 benefits. At level 2, the process is discipline. You have implemented the process. You are ensuring that everyone is following the practice and you are having a managed project. The key process areas of level 2 are configuration management, measurement and analysis, project monitoring and control, project planning, process and product quality assurance, requirement management, and supply agreement management. Now, each of these process areas are having a specific goals and practices. And at level 2, you also have generic goals and practices, which applies to all these processes. Now, the generic goal at level 1 is perform specific practice. So you're performing the specific practice. The generic goal 2 is institutionalize a managed process. Institutionalized means you are actually trying to put it into the culture of the organization, the processes, so that people follow it automatically. So you're building a process of that kind when people start following the process automatically. The generic goals of this level 2 are, it is establish an organizational policy. So you establish the organizational policy so that everyone can basically follow the policy. You plan the process. So you will ensure the generic goals are applying for all the practices basically. So you are ensuring that all the practices are basically following the plan. You are providing the resources to manage the particular practice. So whether it's project management practice or you are doing some work product, so you are providing adequate resources to do the plan, to do the work basically. You are providing the resources, like they may be wanting some hardware, the software, or even some manpower. You assign a responsibility to do the work. So you tell, okay, this is the work you have to do and these are the tasks that each person is been given. Once you have given somebody the task, you have identified the role the particular person is doing, then you will also be able to know what exactly the skills that are lacking in a person. Okay, and what are the skills required? Basically, what are the skills required to do the work? And what are the skills the person has to do the work? And you will be able to know that what are the skills that may be more required to do the work. So once you identify more skills that is required to do the work, you can basically, you will have to put people under some kind of training to see that their skills are upgraded and they are able to do the work that they are supposed to be doing. You will also know how many days of training the person would be requiring, how many hours of training, whether it is going to be internal training, whether it's going to be external training. So all this you will be able to plan. At level 2, you would also know that you have a lot of files and data that has been coming, whether it's from the data, work products, or the documents that is being prepared, the project plans that is being made. So you want to manage them and you want to ensure who is going to be having the authority to do changes to that, and which are the files one can make changes, when the files can be changed, and accordingly you are managing the configurations or you are managing the data basically. You identify and involve relevant stakeholders. So at level 2, you are actually identifying all the stakeholders and you are involving the stakeholders, whether it is updating them with the project information or whether getting the authorization, if at all things are at different stages, like you are making a change request, then you go through their involvement and their authorization for changes to be done. So you monitor and control the process. You objectively evaluate the process, whether it is adhering to the plan, and you review the status with the higher management. These are the generic goals. Now basically connecting the goal. What is exactly establish an organizational policy? So here you are maintaining the set of standard processes and make it available for everyone. Plan the process means you are planning. Assign responsibility. So you are assigning the responsibility for somebody, an authority for someone to do the job. You are providing the resources like hardware, software. You are training the people. identifying relevant stakeholders, etc. Okay, so the specific goals and practices at level 2 is project planning, configuration management, measurement and analysis, project monitoring and control, process and product quality assurance, requirement management, and supply agreement management. Now let's look at project planning. At project planning, the first thing that you would do is establish the estimates. You want to estimate the scope of the project. You want to know how big is the project basically. So you break down the work product into the WBS. So you actually have a WBS and estimate the scope of the project. Then you estimate the work product and task attributes. You estimate like how long, once you've broken down, you would estimate how long the particular work is going to be taking. And you would also use some other estimation tool like function point or use case management, point, and calculate the size of the project basically. Then you would also define the project life cycle. So once you define, like you have a waterfall model, or whether you want to have a V model, or you want to have a iterative model, whatever model you want to go through. So if you will be able to, based on this, you will be able to identify what are the milestones for the projects, and at what interval you would have to share the information with the relevant stakeholders, and who are going to be involved at which interval. You would also estimate the efforts and costs. So based on the work breakdown structure, based on the efforts that you have identified using the function point, you will be able to calculate the efforts that is required and the total cost that would be there to do the particular project. So you will be able to budget, you will be able to identify the cost of the project, like what are the hardware that are required, what are the software that are required, and you will have to estimate how much it's going to cost to do this particular project. The second specific goal is develop a project plan. Now, developing a project plan is, the first one was basically estimating, which is identifying basically, and here you are planning, you are writing down all the plan. So you are establish a budget and schedule. So you will make a project plan and you will prepare the schedule of the project. You will also ensure that you get the budget sanctioned by the required authorities, so that all the software and hardware what are required and the resources that is required for the completing or doing the project can actually you will be able to buy that. So identify project risk. While you are planning, when you are doing the schedule, you also identify the project risk basically. You come to know what are the risks involved, like what are the probability of the risk, what will be the impact if the risk occurs, and what is going to be your mitigation plan, and what is going to be your contingency plan if the risk occurs. So all this you will identify and plan for the risk basically. You will be planning for the data management, as I just said some time back. You would also have to manage the data management, like you produce a lot of data, and like the work products, like all your plans or your design documents, etc. and you would want to manage them. You would know that what basically work product can be viewed, can be changed by whom. See, that is what is planning the data management. Planning for project resources. So you would have to plan for the resources that to do the particular work. So what all items you will require, the hardware, software, etc. to do this particular work. And as you identify who is going to be doing what work, and you will also be able to know like what is the skill set the person has, and what are the skill sets that will be required to do this particular work, and you will be able to understand the skill gaps, and based on that you would plan for the required knowledge and skill training that will be required. You would also plan the involvement of the stakeholders. You will establish the project plan. Finally, at specific goal 3, you will obtain commitment to the plan. So you will ensure that the plans are reviewed and you got the commitment for going ahead with the plan. And if things are changed, you reconcile with the work and the resource levels again are managed, you are again changed and manage the resources. You plan the commitment, you obtain the commitment. Basically, once you have planned for a task, once you have identified that this is a task to be done by this person, you will have to obtain the commitment from the people who is going to be doing that. Yes, this is a 25 days work and I will be able to do it in 25 days. Okay, and he will be able to start from so and so date and he will be available for the next 25 days to do the work. So those things you will have to obtain the commitment from the relevant people who are doing the work. So you will have to obtain the commitments. The next one is configuration management. The configuration management process area is which is again like a data management. In the configuration management process area, you have a specific goal like establish baseline. Specific goal 2, track and control changes. Specific goal 3, establish integrity. So let's look at specific goal 1, that is establish baseline. So what do you have to do to establish a baseline? Baseline is something, a work product which you will identify, and once it's baseline, okay, after that product will not be allowed to change. So first you will have to identify all the work products, which is like configuration items. What are the configuration items that you have? You will also establish a configuration management system. The configuration management system you will establish to ensure that only the relevant people are able to have authorization to go and change the files. Not just everyone can change. And you will create a released baseline. So you will understand that when this particular items get baseline, like you have a requirement document, the moment you start your designing, okay, you will have to baseline the requirement. The requirement cannot keep on changing while you are developing the products. So you have to freeze that. So that is what you will create the baselines for the requirement once you start the design. So based on that, like track and control changes, the specific goal 2 is track and control changes. Once its item is baseline, like a requirement, we cannot tell that it is not going to change anymore after this. Any any work product that can get changed. So if the requirement has to go for a change, then it will have to go through some change request system. So the change request system, has to be formalized. It has to be planned. You should have tracked it. So if people ask for a change when the work products are going to be developed, you would have to know what are the impacts that is going to have for when the requirements are changing. So that is track change request, control configuration item to ensure that the work products don't change by anyone. So that is what is configuration management going to do, the configuration management system. Establish integrity, establish configuration management record, perform configuration audit. So periodically you would have to perform a configuration audit to ensure that exactly whatever is being declared is what the configuration items are. So they have not changed when you didn't wanted them to be changed, or with an unauthorized person. The third process area is measurement and analysis. The specific goal of measurement and analysis is align measurement and analysis activities to the process, basically. Establish measurement objectives, specify measures, specify data collection and storage procedures, specify analysis procedures. The specific goal 2 is provide measurement results. That is, collect measurement data, analyze measurement data, store data and result, and communicate results. So in align measurement and analysis, you will establish the measurement objectives. So all the you will have to know what are the things that you are going to measure, and whether you will interact with the relevant stakeholders. You will identify what all the company want to actually measure. Whether they want to measure the efforts, they want to measure how much cost escalation is happening, you want to measure what are the deviations, etc. So variance analysis. So all this, you will establish the measurement objectives, what you want to measure. Then specify measures, that how you are going to measure that. Now if you want to measure the efforts, then you will have to know the people who are doing the efforts, they will have to record, and you should be able to get all that data. So you will specify measures how you will be able to meet the measurement objectives that you have established. And in specific practice 3, that is specify data collection and storage procedures. So you will know how you are going to get the data, basically. So if at all you want to know the source files, the length of the source files or lines of the code, so you will have to tell the programmer to provide you the source lines of code. So from each files, so you will have to specify the data collection and storage procedures. Specify analysis procedure. So how you are going to analyze the data once all the data is collected. That is specify analysis procedure. In specific goal 2, provide measurement result. Now once you have collected measurement data, you have analyzed measurement data, you have stored the data and results in a particular way, then you will communicate that with the higher level management, with all the relevant stakeholders. So that is about the measurement and analysis. Project monitoring and control. Once you have planned the project, Then you want to ensure whether the project is being executed as planned. So you will have to monitor for that and control. So if there is something gone wrong, okay, you will have to take corrective actions. So what are the things that you will monitor? You will monitor the project planning parameters. You will monitor the commitment of the people. You will monitor the risks. So whether the risk is occurred, and the records have to be there. So whether the risk has been communicated, about the risk it has been communicated to the higher level management. What is the status of the risk? Okay, you will monitor the data. You will monitor the stakeholders' involvement, whether the project manager has communicated with the relevant stakeholders, with the higher level management periodically as been planned. Whether the progress review meetings have been conducted, whether the milestone reviews have been conducted. So these are the things you would monitor in the project monitoring and control. So you will analyze. Now, not everything keeps going as we have planned. There are some things that get proper, and those issues you would like to handle. So whenever the issues come, you would have to actually analyze the issue, take corrective action, and manage the corrective action, whether it's been completed. The next process is process and product quality assurance. The specific goal is objectively evaluate process and work products. So you will evaluate the process basically. So objectively evaluate, objectively means unbiased. So objectively evaluate the process, whether the process has been followed as the process has been described as the standard, whatever is being described. So whether all the procedures have been followed properly, whether the process has been followed properly, that is what you are going to evaluate. So objectively evaluate the process. Objectively evaluate the work product and services. So once you evaluate the process, you also evaluate whether the work products. So the next thing is you evaluate the work products that has come out of the process, whether they are being done as per the standard what is required. So whether it is being like you have a coding standard, so whether the coding standard has been followed properly, whether the reviews have been followed properly, whether it is code review, whether it is all the reviews that are there with respect to that completion of the work. Okay, you may be having a checklist, etc. So whether you are evaluating the work product and services. So you objectively evaluate the work product and the service. The second is provide objective insight. So there are two specific goals basically. You will evaluate the work product, process and work product. You will provide insight into whatever is you are actually evaluated. So you evaluated the process, you evaluate the work product and service. Now you will want to communicate that and ensure the resolution of non-compliances. So once you have evaluate the process, you come across so many non-compliances. Okay, so the non-compliance report is prepared, and you also suggest the corrective actions, and which you will communicate to the project teams, you will communicate to the higher level management, so they know what is going on and they know what is to be corrected. And you will establish records to show that all these things has been done basically. The next process is requirement management. The requirement management, you have a specific goal as a requirement management, and you have the specific practices like obtain and understand the requirement. To obtain and understand the requirement, you will list out the requirement and you will check with the customer like what does it mean, this requirement, and how he is going to evaluate to accept this particular requirement. So you obtain the understanding of the requirement, you list the understanding of the requirement. Once you know what is all the requirement, you have actually put them into the project plan and you have ensured that all the tasks for the completion of that requirement has been listed out. Once this has been listed out, you would want the team to actually do this particular work. So you assign that particular work to a particular member of a team basically. And then you obtain a commitment from that team member that he is going to complete, he has understood the requirement, he is going to complete the requirement. That is the second specific practice, is obtain commitment to requirement. So you obtain the commitment to the requirement from the project team member. You manage requirement changes. Now, to tell you, though the requirement is a very something like a fix, but it's nothing, and we know in actual life nothing is really fixed. So there could be some reasons which will arise and for which the requirement should undergo changes. Now, how does it undergo changes? Like if you are in the design phase and if the customer has asked for a requirement to be changed, now it is going to change all the required design documents basically. Okay, so how are you going to do that? So you may be having a change control board which is actually to be formulated, part of this configuration management plan, and you would actually manage this change. So if this particular requirement has changed, then it will go through the change management process, and then you will ensure that all the work product relating to that particular document or that requirement has been changed. So manage requirement changes. The fourth one is maintain bidirectional traceability of requirement. Now, how do you manage changes to the requirement? Not just like to tell you only the change control board or going through the process. You would want to change that this requirement has actually is actually reflected in the design document. It is reflected in the design, in the development of the product. So you want to maintain a bidirectional traceability, like from the requirement of the customer, which is the requirement has been listed. So that same is there in the design document, and the same is reflected in the product that you have made, and the same is you will be able to demonstrate as a plan, as a acceptance test to the customer. Okay, so the maintaining the bidirectional traceability of the requirement is one of the practice of this particular requirement management. The next one is identify inconsistencies between project work and requirement. Now, identify inconsistencies between the project work and requirement. Naturally, when you are actually doing a traceability matrix and you are actually, it's actually checking your traceability matrix is an updated one. So you check and you identify if there is inconsistency, if there is requirement, if there is some portion in the design document which is not taking care of the requirement or the product that has been developed. If some requirement is not being fulfilled, then you are actually bringing that inconsistency out through your traceability matrix. So this is requirement management. The next process is supplier agreement management, SAM. So supplier agreement management is you have a established supplier agreements, the specific goal, satisfy supplier agreements, the specific goal 2. No, as a specific goal 1, you have practice like determine acquisition type. The determine acquisition type means what is the type of acquisition you would want to have, like whether you want to buy a COTS product okay, commercial off the shelf product, or you want to give a contract to someone and and get the product done, or you want the product to be developed by some other team, in-house team. So what is the type of acquisition you want to have, that you would determine. So you would have to go through something like a DAR process. There is another process called DAR, okay, this is an analysis and resolution. So you will go through the DAR process and tell, okay, what is going to be the analysis acquisition type. You will also use the DAR process for selection of the supplier. So the second is you will select the supplier. Now once you are determined that you are going to get it done from some XYZ or someone from outside, okay, vendor, then you would have to select what is going to be the criteria for the vendor to be clearing that he's become eligible to take a project. So you would list down the criterias using DAR again, the criterias, like what is the criteria the vendor would have to fulfill to become eligible to be a supplier. So select the supplier, then establish supplier agreement. The next one is you would have to establish a agreement, the supplier agreement, and the supplier agreement should basically it should tell what are the terms and conditions. Execute the supplier agreement. Once you have established a supplier agreement, you will execute. Now when you are establishing a supplier agreement, you would also checking like how are you going to check the process has been followed by the supplier, and when you are going to be checking what are the review types you would have with the customer or with the vendor, so that you know he is progressing well and you will be able to get the product in time. And you don't want a surprise. Like if you are not having a evaluation process of the supplier, okay, the supplier agreement, then you would not know like whether at the end of the agreement he will be able to deliver the product or not. So you cannot wait till then, and you will also have to check what are the dependencies are there, like what are the critical dependencies, so you actually follow that customer and ensure that those critical dependencies are being met basically. So you will execute the supplier agreement, and the execute the supplier agreement is nothing but it is whatever supplier agreement that you have established, you are ensuring that you have executed that supplier agreement, you have brought all those terms and conditions, you have told what are the reviews, whether you will have a PDR review, CDR review, and the different progress reports that you would want to check, you would want to see during the course of the process. You would monitor the selected supplier processes. So based on the agreement, you would monitor, you will identify basically initially, and then you would monitor those whatever you have identified the processes that you are supposed to. Evaluate selected supplier work product. Once the customer has actually delivered the product, you would evaluate whether the selected supplier work product has met the requirement or not. So you will validate it and you will check it that whatever the vendor is producing is something what you are actually requiring. It's not something that you don't require. Whatever you are actually requiring is that this is the product made as per specifications basically. Except the acquired product, then you would also need to have an in-house process to check how you will accept the particular product from the vendor. So once the vendor has supplied the product, then you will have to have an evaluation criteria internal in-house to check that what all things how you are going to test the particular product which the supplier has supplied. And the next one is transition of the product. So you would want to check how you will transit, whether like the maintenance, about the maintenance and how it will be stored and how that product will be used in the project, all those things, the transition of the product. Okay, thank you friends. So this is the completion of level 2, and we'll wait. Let's meet up again in the next video on level 3. Thank you.